The other day, I had my friends over to play some games and maybe watch a film together. Then at around 11 p.m., I went outside for a ciggy since none of my friends smoke and I obviously didn't want to be a rude host. As I stepped outside, I saw a dude in front of my driveway. He was just standing there and doing nothing. I live in an okay neighborhood today, but I grew up in a bad one. Hence, I'm not in the business of trusting strangers. I walked over to him and asked, "Excuse me, are you lost, bro?" The man turned around, took a couple of steps toward me, all the while keeping his head down, and said, "Nah, I was just taking a walk, but hey, I wouldn't mind a stogie if you can spare one." I took one cigarette out of the box and walked even closer toward the man so I could hand it to him. That's when he tilted his head up and looked straight at me. I nearly soiled my pants when I saw his face. He didn't look human. His face was covered in scars and pimple-like bulges. It's the kind of face you expect to see in some 80s horror flicks. And listen, I'm not trying to be insensitive here. You have to know what he said to me when I freaked out, dropped the ciggy, and took a few steps back out of sheer horror. He said to me, "Stogies are so much like me. You humans know this thing kills you, but you just can't seem to give it up." The man picked up the ciggy on the ground and continued speaking. "Don't worry, I'm not here for you. You're currently a little too happy to have any use for me. I've got someone else in mind for now, but maybe later, huh?" He then lit up the ciggy with what seemed like his finger. I'm telling you, he didn't use a lighter or a match. I saw a flame coming out of his hand. He lit up the ciggy, then he walked away and disappeared into the dark. I've never told this story to anyone out of fear of being ridiculed. In a world where we send rovers to Mars and have lightspeed communication, speaking of the devil just seems a bit wacko. I send you this story in anonymity. Make what you will of it. Have you ever found cash on the street? I'm sure you have, but I'm strictly talking about an amount that can change your life. Odds are only a small percentage of the population have, and for better or worse, I'm part of the small percentage. 3 years ago, I was walking home after work and found an envelope lying on the ground. I picked it up and looked inside as I continued to walk. The contents of it nearly gave me a heart attack. The envelope was full of $100 bills. I went home and counted the money. The total came out to be $30,000. Exactly $30,000. Sitting on the couch, I remember thinking, do I take it to the police or do I keep it a secret and spend it as I wish? It didn't take too long for me to choose the latter. Starting from the next day, I began to deposit the money in my bank account in small increments. The plan was to pay off a portion of my student loan and to get myself a big screen TV. I'm ashamed to say this, but I didn't think much of the person who had lost the money. My only concern was how I might safely spend the money. At any rate, I went easy on the money the first month. I had spent a couple $100 and that was it. But with time, I became increasingly bolder and impatient as I began to purchase pretty much anything I wanted. Let's see, the purchase list is as follows from the top of my head. A PS4, a 65-inch TV, a new PC, lots of new clothing, new light fixtures, many restaurant visits, and a whole lot of other small and frivolous expenditures. Like karma though, bad things began happening from month 2. At the time, I didn't know what it all meant, but today, I know everything began with the eye infection. I woke up one day and my eyes were red and swelled up. They were itchy and I saw plenty of discharge coming out of them. From that point on, I lost 2 fingernails when a buddy of mine dropped a 40-pound dumbbell on my fingers. By mistake, of course. Not long after, I broke my wrist when the lift in my apartment was out of service and I had to use the stairs. I don't know how, but I lost balance while on the staircase and rolled down a flight of stairs. A few days thereafter, a kid dropped an unopened bottle of wine from the 3 floors high balcony of his apartment, to which it ended up kissing the top of my head. God knows how the kid got his hands on a bottle of wine, but I ended up getting stitches for that. Mind you, what I told you so far are only a sample of the things that I went through. In any event, what really got me was the breakup with my girlfriend and losing my best friend in a meaningless argument. I had lost two of the most important people in my life for some meaningless disagreements that, under normal circumstances, I would have never made such a big fuss out of them. But I did because I was under dire stress from all the bad things that were happening to me. I reacted to everything with nasty attitude and vindictiveness. After 6 months of that, I came to a realization that the problem was the money. It was unearned, and most of all, it belonged to someone else. I know that every day some random person steals from another and they go on to live their life with seemingly no issue whatsoever. That happens all the time, but the money that I found on the street, that money was cursed. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm not justifying my action, but I'm pointing out the fact that many bad deeds go unpunished. It's a fact. Regardless, I had to part with the money. Hence, what I did was to withdraw $9,000 from my bank account, which was the total of the money spent, plus the money that had been deposited from the money that was found. Then one night, I put $30,000 in an envelope and left it in the same spot where I had found the money originally. Believe it or not, things improved almost right away. My eyes felt better the next day, and the infection went away completely in 1 week. Random accidents like a kid dropping a wine bottle on my head stopped as well. I went back to being my normal self again in less than 2 months. I haven't had anything out of the norm happen to me since returning the money, which by the way was gone by next evening when I was coming home from work. My hope is that the money went to the original owner, but who am I kidding? It was likely picked up by someone else, and that person is likely going through the same hell I went through after stealing that money. I don't know about you, but I feel that it's a game played by the devil. I think that the sole reason for the existence of the envelope with full of money is to destroy lives. I was never the religious type and still don't think I am, but I do believe evil exists in this world and likely inside all of us. I was lucky to have found and to have trapped the evil inside of me. I plan to keep it that way. I'm gonna do my utmost to live a decent life.